Hello friends, welcome to a Game Informer one-off video. We haven't really come up with a name for them yet. I am Alex Stadnik, I'm GI's largest video editor. I am joined today by one of the best minds in games, the new hire extraordinaire who has populated our site with, what, 800 articles at this point? You started like yesterday? Something like that?
Can't get rid of me.
Liana Ruppert, ladies and gentlemen. Liana, how are you?
I am good. I am excited to dive into this video because there's a lot to talk about.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gracious. So, if you've been sleeping under a rock, get this. So Microsoft had been in the news basically all summer talking about how they want a big fish. They want to catch a big publisher, a big studio that they can say that they can throw the Xbox logo on. And for a while that was WB, but it turns out that that Microsoft has purchased ZeniMax and Bethesda for $7.5 billion. That's almost double what Disney paid for Lucas and for Star Wars, which is absolutely mind-boggling. And there's a lot of discourse online about, is this good? Is this bad? Where the exclusive's going to go? But Liana, you had a very interesting take on it. So we should start with just the general flow of this and what happened, right? Like,
Yeah. Microsoft really kind of came out of nowhere with this. Like, I know,
yeah,
like you said, like there's been talks about them netting some big fish in the past and teasing some big reveals. But with even though they have some really cool studio acquisitions over the last 18 months, they're cool and all, but there's just more. It wasn't quite to the hype levels
yeah,
that everybody needed. Like everybody
like
wanted Decay and stuff like that. But
yeah, getting In Exile and these kind of studios were really cool, and Obsidian especially. I was stoked about that.
Pillars of
But
Eternity forever.
yeah, yeah. But I think we've been in this cycle for the last 3 years, 4 years, whenever. Like, yeah, I think it was 4 because Scalebound got canceled. I think 4 years ago at this point. But this
We don't
narrative
talk
that
about Scalebound.
no, I can't think about it.
I'm
Um,
salty.
yeah. But the narrative was that Microsoft didn't have any heavy hitters, and the heavy hitters that they did have were waning in popularity, which is scandal to the Master Chief, and I will have none of it.
Yes,
Um,
word.
so, but now you can trot out Elder Scrolls and Fallout, and there's some of their smaller games that I think people would be dying for, like with Prey and like the stuff like that. Like, I think there's so much to this, and I don't think you can say now that Microsoft doesn't have exclusives anymore, but that may not matter to Microsoft.
Yeah, I don't think, I'm seeing a lot of concerns, and they're valid concerns. Like, usually when there's a big acquisition in place, the entire point of the acquisition is to nail those exclusives. But that doesn't really line up with Microsoft's strategy this generation. There was, so we have it up on the site if anybody is interested, not to self plug or anything, but it's a feature going deep into the entire world of Microsoft strategy, how with the next generation, they're really focused on services, the Xbox Game Pass, the xCloud. They're focused more on the experience versus the actual hardware, versus PlayStation's focus very much is rooted with physical sales of hardware, versus with that, if you're focused on physical sales of hardware, you need the exclusive to sell those units. With selling a service, that's not necessarily the same case. And I think that's really interesting too, because that really plays into this acquisition news. 5 years ago, if you would have told me that they acquired Bethesda, I'd be like, crap, we're never going to play Doom on a PlayStation system. I would automatically assume a lot of those assumptions going on right now on Twitter. But if they were to do that, that would directly conflict,
Conflict. Yeah,
conflict,
close
word,
enough.
I word's good. With, this marketing strategy that they've been very vocal and transparent about for the last year and a half. And it's really interesting to see because there's a lot they can do with this. They can still keep the benefits of exclusivity without actually making anything exclusive. And the fact that Phil Spencer talked with Bloomberg, he said that we're going to honor the PlayStation exclusive timed exclusivity with like Ghostwire and Deathloop, but any future titles is case by case basis.
Correct.
And that could mean anything. So my personal, my speculation personally, just with looking at their marketing strategy, and we did that deep dive from the perception of I have a master's degree in business. Looking at that strategy, I think what they're gonna do is I think with the mainstay franchises like Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Doom, I feel like those have such loyal fan bases, especially the Elder Scrolls. I don't think they're gonna alienate the PlayStation players with that. I think at most we might see a timed exclusive, like 6 months, but I can't imagine them keeping that away from the PlayStation systems indefinitely, especially when by doing that, they would get a cut. So they're still making monetization off of that and not cutting off thousands of gamers with that player base. And then 2, it's not the first time they've done that. That's what they did with Minecraft. I don't know if you remember the discourse with Minecraft
Yep.
acquisition.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that was gonna be the end of Minecraft. Minecraft is doomed, Minecraft is done. Everybody thought that the company was gonna shut down, like, everything there
Yeah.
was this huge wild spin, and it's still the
One
one
of
of
the
the
biggest
record.
IPs in the world.
Exactly,
And
it thrived.
yeah, and you took the words right out of my mouth. I think looking at Minecraft, I think Microsoft knew they'd be leaving tons of money on the table by making that exclusive. It would have sold Xbox One would have sold a lot better, but I feel like that would be short-term planning because then it's like, well, if you're not buying games, if you're not tuning into Game Pass and these kind of services, what's the point? And I think to alienate 20 million, 30 million, 50 million, however many PS5 owners there will be, especially with something like Elder Scrolls, is just, I think it would be bad business. So it's like, as much as I think there are, I don't know if altruism exists in the video game industry, but I think there's altruistic and good meaning things from Bethesda studios that would put it on everything. But I do think from a money standpoint, it makes too much sense to have have Fallout 5 be multi-platform and then just Microsoft wins it, like hand over fist in that because they're making so much money and they get to sneer at PlayStation and be like, "Hey, you see that?
What up,
Fallout
enjoyer?
5. Microsoft Game Studios. How you like me now?" Um
Exactly.
but we'll see. I think there is rationale too on people thinking that they would keep them exclusive to sell systems. But I agree with you. I think that is an old school way of thought. 360, definitely. You know,
Yeah.
Mass Effect 1 was an exclusive on the 360.
People
Like,
forget that all the
yeah,
time. The amount of times people don't know that is insane to me because that
yeah.
was a big deal. That was a huge mainstay franchise, and now it's even on the Wii U
Yeah, for real.
for some reason.
Yeah.
I do think Starfield could potentially be an exclusive because it's a brand new community that
Mhm.
they have an opportunity to build that from the ground up. So if they can make that, especially, I think that too could depend on Halo Infinite's reception. You know, the last gameplay reveal wasn't. I it was everything I wanted. I For me, Halo has always had a very particular art style. The Infinite gameplay reflected that perfectly, in my opinion. I had no problem with the gameplay. A lot of people did. If that doesn't perform the way they maybe think, they might be looking into what can be the next go-to franchise, and Starfield is also a space adventure, so they're kind
Yep.
of also filling that niche in as well. I think that yeah, I think that might if they do the exclusive route, I think personally, and that would be more in line with their current marketing strategy of services, especially with day one Xbox Game Pass. I think that might be an exclusive. But I think too is what I'm
Definitely
not
possible.
seeing. What I, yeah, right? Like it would
Yeah.
make sense.
Mhm.
I think one aspect of this acquisition that people aren't really paying attention to, uh, and this is something I was talking about with a couple of people yesterday, and then I saw Alana Pierce, who is Rooster Teeth, and she's also on YouTube. She pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. And speaking with Steven, Spoon, and all of them, of an accessibility route that a lot of people aren't necessarily taking into account when looking at this acquisition. There's Xbox has been a pioneer in accessibility, especially more so in the last 2 years, and that's really been a core part of their mantra of the next gen is accessibility controllers. We wanna make sure our developers are more aware. I know every time I've interviewed anybody from the Microsoft team, you know, I am an epileptic, even bringing up, like, epilepsy triggers and things. They're very receptive to how to make games more enjoyable and accessible to everybody. And I feel like we're getting like these mainstay franchises as day one Xbox Game Pass launches, which is amazing in itself. Like, no matter who you are, what your interest is. Like that's a win for anybody that has Xbox Game Pass, which everybody should anyway because
It is
it's an incredible deal.
it's cheesy because we all say it. It is the best deal in games maybe ever. It's up there. Like
And it's so consumer friendly.
the fact that I can play Witcher 3 and Red Dead 2 along with some amazing indies and like knowing that that's there for me for $15 a month, $20 a month,
right?
it's insane. It goes against my love of having those physical games, but it's also so damn convenient. You know what I mean? Like I can't help myself.
If you use
But
it 2 to 3 times a year, it already pays for itself. Like
it's just bonkers. It's insane.
I don't understand the rhetoric against Game Pass. It doesn't make sense to me. It's the most consumer friendly thing on the market right now. But even better is like, for, Xbox has been championing these accessibility movements in gaming with color blindness and movement, abilities and just every spectrum of accessibility that I think for a long time has been really ignored. And I think, this is a part, again, like I said, Steven Spoon, Alana Pierre, like this is something that's being echoed a lot more now, which is good because this is taking the idea right out of my head. And this is a point that is so important for people that are really upset about this move, especially people that are upset about this move that are going to be getting the Xbox, is that these huge games, Doom Eternal, like I actually got halfway through Doom Eternal, very not epileptic friendly, and I had to stop. If I paid $60 for that, I would be upset. People that have sometimes there is movements with controller options, being able to map a certain way. Is it cohesive with mapping? They have the mapping capability, but does it actually function the way it's meant to be functioned? And I feel like with the Xbox Game Pass, people can now try out these $60 entry point games at no additional cost. And if it's not friendly with whatever their situation is or what their capabilities are or whatever, or even just basic comfort levels, you didn't pay anything for it. So you're not really losing out. And I think too, another part is it's not only accessible with, physical disabilities or limitations, if you want to call it that, or whatever. It's very health conscientious in terms of accessibility, but it's also really accessible price point wise too. Low income, especially with all the talk that these games could be going up to $70, $80 for retail value. I don't know about you guys. We don't make that much money. Nobody makes that much money in my circle. I can't afford $80 games. I remember back when I was a kid, certain SNES titles were $80, $90. There was a reason why I only got like one game every couple of months. Like it was a special occasion. And I feel like this gives people of all income varieties a way to experience the games that they're looking forward to the most without putting themselves in any kind of monetary danger, if that makes sense. College
Yeah.
kids, low income families, let travel. There's anybody can get access to these games, especially games like Elder Scrolls 6, Doom. ESO is not going to be impacted by this move at all. They've already confirmed that. Fallout 5, if we get a Fallout 5, I would love to see, like you mentioned Prey earlier, I would love to see a continuation of Prey, especially with the ending. And they're going to have more resources. And
100%.
I don't see, and I know we're saying like this is a really good thing in terms of accessibility. And I want to say too, for anybody watching, that this is not us saying concerns are not valid because we don't know what they're going to be doing. This is speculation. We don't know if they're going to have exclusives or if they're going to do time exclusives or they're going to lock any of these games behind a console wall. I don't think they're going to, but again, we don't have confirmation. The only confirmation we have at this time is Phil Spencer saying we're going by a case by case basis.
Yeah,
That's
we are
the only
definitely
conversation.
we are reading the tea leaves, but it like we talked about earlier, it just if you throw out, game fandom and stuff like that and you look at bottom line decisions, this having those having those games on as many consoles as possible is a good bottom line decision, especially if they know they're going to be making a ton off of Game Pass by having these on there, but they also know that they're going to be getting $80 or $70 a pop on PS5, on Switch, wherever they on PC, wherever they decide to put them. And
Mhm.
I think we all need to relax and we can get upset when the announcements are made, but I don't see a world in which those are locked behind a wall. But I could be wrong, and Lord knows
Yeah.
I have been, and Lord knows I will be again. But I think this deal was pretty much amazing for all parties, and I think your point, which I didn't even think about, the accessibility points on with Game Pass, I think this is a pro gamer move as well.
Yeah, very, very consumer friendly. And it's more than that, it's nice to see consistency, because that's a problem. As much as I love Sony, that's a big problem right now with the Sony camp, is they're not being consistent in their messaging. We've seen that with every press release and every press event that they've had in the last year, most recent one included, where all of the trailers said PC included. And then they made this big statement afterwards saying, oh no, they're not coming out on PC. And it's like, but your official trailer
Said it. Like, yeah,
says
what?
PC.
I want to be a bug on in the Zoom call these days, but I want to be in on that Zoom call to hear what happened from the time that trailer was cut to the actual showing of it. Like, that's insane to me. I know we're getting off topic, but that's
Sony. No, we're gonna go off topic for a second. Sony, consult with us. Here's what should have happened. You should not have tweeted anything. You should not have said anything to press. You should not have said anything. What you should have done: have a meeting with your PR peeps, your social strategy team, and the creative team, and then you should have said, let's do one blog post, clear, concise. Don't shift the blame. Take accountability. You should have said, you know, thank you guys for tuning in to our most recent showcase. I'm so excited that you guys are excited to see what we've got next. We've got a lot of cool things on the horizon that we can't wait to share with you guys. That being said, we wanted to clarify a few things. We mentioned PC. This is what's actually going on with this. This is our mistake. We will be more clear in the future. Boom, bam, boom. All the journalists would have been all over that. We would have made sure that messaging got out there. We would have cited the blog post. You're getting traffic to your website. You're getting a clear, concise message with not everybody being told something different. It's not that hard.
There it is. There it is.
Like, Xbox being transparent is so refreshing, because it may not be what we want to hear all the time, but at least we know what's going on. And they're not going to tell us something when they're not ready to tell us. Like, I like it. And that was my soapbox moment of this entire
there you go.
shtick. Is consistency is very key, and I appreciate that. And if they do decide to lock some of the stuff behind exclusives, you know what? Will I be extremely happy with that? Obviously not. I mean, I'm primarily a PC gamer anyway, so it wouldn't really affect me. But I understand there are a lot of people that are just really love PlayStation, whether it's they like the feel of it, or that's just a brand they grew up with.
Yep, exactly.
That's valid. That's totally valid. But like, at the same time, I'm not gonna throw a fit, because this, at the end of the day, and I think a lot of gamers forget this point, at the end of the day, these are still businesses, and businesses wouldn't be a business if they weren't trying to make money. And usually, up until this point, an acquisition meant exclusives. So would it be the best consumer friendly thing that they could do? Absolutely not. Would it be a direct conflict with what they're saying with their marketing strategy? Absolutely. Could that burn a bridge with a lot of the reputation that Phil Spencer has done a great job at rebuilding after the failed Xbox One launch? Yes. Would they be in the right to do that? Yes. That's the point of an acquisition. So I think that while we are saying we don't think they're going to do that with mainstay franchises, I think that you hit the nail on the head. One, you need to prepare for the worst, no matter what. And that's a good philosophy for anything in life, to be honest. Prepare for the worst, so you're pleasantly surprised. But two, like, we need to stop being quite so reactionary when we get news, because these are teasers that are not meant to tell you the whole picture. They're meant to get you excited about what's coming. So we don't have all of the details. They told us we don't have all of the details. They said they're going to be revealing more at a later time. Both Todd Howard, Pete Hines said that. Phil Spencer said that. Aaron Greenberg, they're all saying it. There's no mixed messaging going on here. But we need to stop definitively saying, like, the amount of people I saw saying, well, I'm boycotting Xbox now. Why? You're boycotting over speculation. Like, that's not, if you enjoy Xbox, you shouldn't do that, in my opinion. Wait till we get the official confirmation and then react how you see fit. I mean, you're the consumer, so you are in the right to do that. But I think that, that would be the right thing. Although I gotta say, and I gotta point to our dude Jay, Jason
Shout out
on the
to Jay.
site.
Guisao.
I can't ever say Guisao.
Guisao.
Yeah. Jay, he has an excellent article up on the site about what we want to see from this partnership. And I got to say, my boy, I'm a huge Fallout New Vegas fan. And Microsoft and Obsidian and Bethesda have not had the most healthiest of relationships in the past. There's some bad blood there. But to see now Bethesda and Obsidian being under the same umbrella, like, we have heard from Microsoft, we have heard from key members of the development team of New Vegas. And the common denominator between both sides is the aspects that people didn't like about New Vegas are justified because it was rushed towards the end. There's a lot of pacing issues. There's a lot of missed opportunities with the
A lot of
narrative.
bugs.
A lot of
A
bugs.
lot of bugs.
But now there's no competition. There's no IP confliction. There's none of that. Like, we could either see a remastered version of New Vegas with a fill-in, or a remake. Let's say a remake where they fill in some of those holes
For sure.
while also updating it for Xbox Series X, or Fallout New Vegas 2. Give it to me. I need it.
Make it happen.
Make it happen. I will give you all of my money.
Wrapping up here, do you think Fallout New Vegas, is that the main thing you want to see out of this? Like, what, if you could put a pin on this, what's the main thing you want to see from this acquisition and moving forward for Microsoft and Bethesda?
I would love to see New Vegas 2 or a remake of New Vegas. And Todd Howard also teased a total overhaul of their new engine, which is supposed to be the largest overhaul since Oblivion. That's great. It's long overdue. You guys have been promising this for years now. That's fantastic. And now you got the resources. Just get a whole freaking new engine. Like, it's time.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I love Fallout. I love Elder Scrolls. Graphics are ugly. And graphics do not make the game, but like, I should not have to mod your game within an inch of its life to have somebody that doesn't look like bone is sticking out of their elbows.
Correct. I think jumping off of your point, I want them to give me a reason to care, because Fallout 3 was incredible. That was one of those experiences for me growing up where it was like, oh, this is what open world can be. This is what discovery can be. RPGs don't need to be just swords and shields. I can bring a nuke launcher into a battlefield like this. I want them to give me a reason to care about Fallout again, because I'm definitely more of a Fallout person than an Elder Scrolls person. Yeah. And Fallout 4 and especially 76 just did not do anything for me. So I would love for them to be able to, even if it takes longer, just be like, we have the resources, we have the people. I think Microsoft so far has done an amazing job of letting creators create. And I'd love for them to continue that with Bethesda and just say, you guys reshape this in the way you guys see fit, and let's make this one of the biggest names in games again. And I think they can definitely do that. So whether that's Fallout New Vegas 2, whether that's Fallout 5, we'll see. I'm excited. I think a lot of people should be excited. I get some of the trepidation, but I think this will turn into a good thing.
Really quick, before you sign off.
Okay.
Before you sign off, one more thing.
Okay.
If you could have, this was totally just random thought. Yeah. Who do you think Microsoft's next acquisition should be?
Do they have any money after spending $7.5 billion?
They're making it right over there, apparently. But no, I don't think so. But pretend for a moment that they have unlimitless money. They have the cheat command for unlimited gold. What studio would you like to see them purchase?
I promise you, and GI community, I promise you, I'm not sucking up to Liana. I would send them whatever money to go get BioWare.
Yes, that's what I was hoping you would say. I was like, if I know you, like, I think I'm starting to. I think we're gonna be in sync on this one.
Because especially like with what we talked about earlier, with how I think Microsoft is letting creators create. If you could just literally hand the team at BioWare a blank check and say, "This is for you. Go recreate Mass Effect in the same way we were talking about Fallout." Like, that's a done deal. Because I always thought Mass Effect was going to be, I think in that time period, it was that franchise that you like took time off to play type of thing.
100%.
And I think there's just like, I think with Fable, I think there are these games that have that staying power if treated the right way. And I think a lot of BioWare's IP would cover that.
I am right there with you. That is my pick too. I want to see the creative, because like you said, they're very hands off. They haven't always been, but in the last like 4 years, I've heard from a lot of people internally that the work environment has gotten a lot healthier. And I think a lot of the people that left under the insinuations that EA has a very big, like high crunch period, which I've also heard has changed a lot in the last year and a half, 2 years after Andromeda. But I think that that might also encourage a lot of the original creators to come back if they were given a chance to revisit a franchise that they had a help hand in creating, to see them come back and just start fresh. Like, don't worry about the timeline. It's ready when it's ready. Here's money. Give us Turian booties. Let us play as a freaking Turian. It's time,
Ooh,
please.
let's get it. That'd be really good.
Bioware, let me do this, please. I'm
BioWare, if you're
begging.
listening. Sony, if you're listening. BioWare, if you're listening. I'd say hire this woman, but don't. She works for us. It's a beautiful thing. Liana, I think that's a great look. Thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you online? They want to follow you.
I don't like to ever say it because I have to explain it. So my handle for everything is dirty F and hippie. My gamer tag, it's everything. And that was when I was active duty, because I always used to carry guitars with me and play. And they were like, oh, and when you're like in the Middle East and covered in dirt and stuff, they're like, oh, it's dirty hippie. And that kind of just
Oh, got it. Do you spell it out for people if they want to follow you?
is DIRTYEFFINHIPPY. And then it's also linked on my author profile on Game Informer.
Beautiful. And you can find me at Stadnik76, STUDNIK 76. If you are loving GI content and you know what, don't want to hear it from us, that's fine. We got a whole YouTube page filled with our awesome editors at youtube.com/GameInformer. GameInformer.com is where you're going to find some of the best written work in the industry, bar none. From Liana, from Jay, from our entire staff. We're really doing some cool stuff. So thank you so much for joining us. Let us know if you liked this kind of one-off vibe. I think we're trying to do some more of that. But thank you for joining us. Liana, thank you for joining me. And we'll see you next time. Be safe. Be good to each other. We'll see you later.